Oopsies, it's me, Tony Bomboni, ASMR, and today I just wanted to make a video, story time, telling you what happened with Yugji, UggaChunga, my old jewelry line. I'm not quite sure I really even talked about it in videos. I kind of just disregarded it for a long time. So this was a jewelry company that me and my friend Jenny had owned in 2016, I believe. So we both pretty much had like half and half stake in it. And I thought this would be a good idea because it was a request to explain what happened. What the heck happened with UggaChunga, the old jewelry I showed at that time and sold online from Etsy. So make sure you guys subscribe and check me out on TonyBomboni.com to book your own personal service. And I'm going to start from there. Nowadays, I do not sell jewelry. I offer tarot readings, Reiki healings, and custom ASMR videos, and coffee cup and candle wax readings, of course. Along with these videos, that's it. You know, I have a Spotify, an Apple Music, a Cameo. That's it. Like, I don't really offer anything else other than what's on my website. So I wanted to start from there just to make it very clear. There was a time when after I was done selling it, people were still requesting the jewelry, and we were still offering it for a limited time in secret, not really, you know, in public. Like, we didn't really tell people, but they would just like donate to my PayPal, and then I would just send them the jewelry, you know. But I have definitely discontinued that a long time ago, probably 2017. And you know, for a while we parted ways with business, and you know, went off, lived our lives, did our own thing, you know. So that was one big reason. Now, Jenny was responsible for making the jewelry. I was responsible for managing things. So her half of the portion was just physically crafting and making the jewelry, the creative part of it, basically putting together the leather rope, the crystals, the silver wire that wrapped around the crystal, you know, the chain, the lobster clasp, all that. And I would be on Skype at the time, when Skype was still a thing. I believe they are shutting down now after 20 years, but I would literally just be on Skype watching her and kind of guiding the creative process. And she's all the way in Sweden and I'm all the way in Florida. So the only way to do it was from Skype, you know. I managed the website. So I took care of everything from pricing to descriptions, title, tags. She was responsible for shipment as well. So she did the jewelry crafting and shipping it in the physical post office. And so with collaboration together, we did things like working on converting from USD to EUR, you know, European currency, the euro. When it comes to shipment and pricing and, you know, how much materials would cost, we bought a lot of materials from eBay, actually. You'd be surprised how much you can find on eBay. But yeah. And so, you know, I thought it was genius. I think everyone else did too. You know, it was very unique. No one was doing what I was doing, and especially in the ASMR community, probably especially on YouTube. You know, we were our own sponsor. Like, that was unheard of. So, you know, I think we started something almost 10 years ago that was just so amazing. And years later, I'm seeing like on QVC something very similar now. And like people, like celebrities wearing like something very similar to what we used to make. It's not quite, but it's like a copy or an imitation. So, you know, word of mouth got out fast because I promoted it on videos that got millions of views, obviously. So it's going to reach, you know, celebrities. It's going to reach people like in QVC and the jewelry industry. And obviously I want to know part of that. Just like the makeup industry, it's a very competitive industry. And I just do not want to participate that way. I'm not really, I'm just my own person, right? Like I'm business minded, but I'm not quite a capitalist either, you know? Not everything has to be capitalized on. So I felt like I was just doing it for the money, even though it was like barely any money, you know, it was not much. Like sometimes I just give, you know, honestly, like Jenny most of it, because I just was like, you know, I felt bad. I was like, she's doing a lot of the work, you know. It took her, gosh, like 2 to 4 hours per piece, you know, and we were only charging like just over $100 for some pieces. So to people at the time, it was expensive. To us, it was not, because after shipment, after taxes, after we split it in half, I'm lucky if I made like 20-30 bucks a piece. Like, you know, to me, it really wasn't worth it financially wise. And I definitely was not as passionate about jewelry to be making a few hundred a month from that alone. You know, it just wasn't worth it. I was making so much more on sponsorships and YouTube, you know. It just, yeah. So that's part of why I cut it. I was like, you know, this is taking too much of my time. And, you know, I had to be honest with myself, you know, and that's why I didn't really mention it back then, because I already was getting so much hate online. Just unnecessary drama and hate and negativity, because when so many people watch your videos, you're going to get just a bunch of hate, you know. It's just what it is. You know, you could be the nicest person and you'll still get so much hate if you get like 1 million views, you know. It's just what it is, right? It's normal. So yeah, so I didn't want to keep talking about it, because even back then it was kind of like unusual to even sponsor a product or, you know, promote yourself or promote your own services. Now it's so normalized and overdone, oversaturated. But you know, it was like underground to even promote like a Patreon. I remember like even having a Patreon, you were getting hated on because you were called a money grab. And then now everyone who hated on you opening a Patreon ended up opening a Patreon, and they ended up opening everything under the sun to make money. So it's like, who you hating on? You hating on yourself, girl? You know. Anyway, I'm not gonna say exactly who, but I will say though, that it was a very dramatic time, and I felt like certain that I did not want to do this anymore. It was not easy to bring it up to Jenny, because she loved doing it, even though it was a lot of work, and her hands would probably hurt by the end of it, and her fingers, but she enjoyed it, and of course extra money was nice, I'm sure. So that was the hard part, really like negotiating and really like, oh, what if we do this part-time? I just had to cut it, you know. I just had to say no, you know. No, I'm not gonna make any more excuses. And I found that I was getting very aggressive too. Like, so I would get so passionate that I'd get to the point of being aggressive, and I wasn't putting the right energy in the work anymore. I was like, no, it should be done this way, not this way. I felt like a control freak. I felt like I was controlling the situation so heavily. So I've come to find, and I learned the hard way, and I learned through mentors, that business and friends do not mix, period. And so if you have like a startup and you're trying to hire your friend, I'm going to tell you good luck, honestly, because it's not going to be as you expect, because it's so hard to distance that friendship from the business relationship. And you have to talk to them with a business mind, but me talking to her in a business mind was very cold and off-putting to a friend, you know. It wasn't like I was being warm and genuine, you know. When I'm talking numbers and money, I'm serious, you know. I'm serious about my money. If someone messes with my money, I'm very serious about that, you know. I'm a Virgo, you know, or grounded and down to earth, but like with money, like we don't play, right? So with things like that, with finance and numbers, you know, I'm just too serious and controlling about it, you know. So I kind of felt like I wanted to, in a way, control the business, control everything about it. And I felt like I was unfortunately probably creatively blocking her as well. So that wasn't a good business relationship, even though we had a good friendship relationship, right? At the time. So there were a multitude of factors into why we ended up shutting down. But overall, Etsy also took a fee, right? And I think PayPal as well, like if we offered on PayPal, yeah. So it just, we got like, I mean, I also had to send her half, and that through PayPal, when you convert from USD to SEK, which is like Swedish krona, it cuts from her paycheck too. So I'm like, this is just too much cutting. And on top of that, not only the taxes online they charge, but also I have to pay taxes on that income. So I'm like, this is making me $20 a pop. Like, this is not worth it to me, It's just not, I'm gonna be honest, I could do that just in an hour, just existing, not doing anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not worth it, So, you can be passionate about something, but realistically, if it doesn't pay the bills, doesn't cover your rent, why do, it didn't even cover half my rent, literally, at the time. So I was like, this is not worth it. So honestly, it was fun while it lasted. I think we always were very creative, and I'm genuine in saying that. She's very creative. I'm a creative person in my own unique way. And when two great minds come together, we made something amazing. And for that, I have no regrets at all. At all. I really don't. We had fun while it lasted. And although I was staring at a screen for up to 8 to 10 hours a day trying to make this thing happen, it didn't happen. And I'm at peace with it. I really was always at peace with it. And I think that's what probably would have bothered a lot of people. I think people would have wanted to see me upset that I had to close down that business. I really wasn't. It was guilt-free, pain-free. For me, it was freedom. It was a release. It was, I did that. We succeeded. We promoted it to millions of people. That's it. That's it, right? So I felt very satisfied, I really did. And hey, we don't know how we have affected or influenced other jeweler makers and how we inspired them to be creative and make their works of art. So for that, I shall forever be grateful. I will never take credit for something that we may or may not have done, because I don't know the influence we had. But I know we definitely had a huge influence, especially from the legendary Dino Poop, the coprolite, which was the most controversial subject of my entire YouTube career. And I think had me be talked about on like all the blog sites, basically nonstop. So yeah, but the harassment I got about that was unheard of. So yeah, I don't look back. I don't have regrets. I think definitely we all learn things in life. Yes, dino poop fossils are real, whether you believe it or like it or not. It's because there's a lot of conspiracy people who don't believe dinosaurs existed. It's okay, it is what it is. But yeah, when you attract an audience of all walks of life, you're gonna get all opinions. And for that, I'm at peace. But most importantly of all, one thing I did want to point out, the work that Jenny put in, and God bless her. And I forever will thank her for the work and energy she put into her craft and creation as well. She actually went to an event to promote UggaChunga as well. She went to an event in Stockholm where they were selling like crystals, and she just went and talked to everyone, passed around our business cards, which we actually printed business cards for Yugji as well, with the purple logo. It was, yeah, we actually did that, I think, on MS Paint. She's pretty good at that, so it ended up looking pretty sweet. But, how we started Yugji was basically, we were literally just playing World of Warcraft and I guess flying on our dragon mounts, right? And we were like, oh my gosh, what if we just make this a business? We always say UggaChunga because it's funny. To me, it's like a caveman language. Like saying UggaChunga. It's like, how can we make something tribal and sell it, right? How can we advertise and promote something that is just us? It speaks to us as twin flames, right? Because I always felt like she was my twin flame, you know, as a friend. And so we just kind of merged two minds in one, and I think it stuck, you know, it just worked somehow, right? And I was like, how can we get this to as many people as possible? My most popular series was the most relaxing series. I used to call them the most relaxing ASMR video ever made, part 1 through, I think I ended up doing part 11 or 12, something like that. So I ended up promoting on those videos that got more hits. So that, because YouTube doesn't tend to promote something if it's sponsored. So I was trying to find a loophole to see how can we reach and target as many people as possible. So I did on those videos, and I tried to mention other videos as much as I could. We worked with amazing crystals like moldavite, tektite, and aqua aura quartz, and we called one different names. Like, I think one was like the sands of time or something like that. We just gave a different name for each one, a different color, different look. One was Egyptian theme, one was dinosaur, one was angelic, you know. So it just worked, you know. It was very creative. So we had 5 different designs, and it took, I'm telling you, so long to even get the concept. And we were literally like on MS Paint, like just painting the concept before we actually put it together. And you know, the research for ordering stuff and the shipment costs of a lot of stuff. Like sometimes we would have to pay upwards of like, I think like $20, maybe $30 to ship just one piece for one part of the jewelry. So that also added up, and why we had to charge the amount we did so that we could still get some profit. But the profit was at a bare minimum, I'm telling you. When I'm honest, I think I only made a total of $2,000 from all of that work. Like, it really, yeah, So, no. You know, when I was making that in a week elsewhere, right? So, yeah, but basically, it worked while it did, right? And I just am honest. Nowadays, more than ever with you, I feel like authenticity is so important, and to share your story, and so others can learn from your hardship and not make the same mistakes you make, right? So always write down ahead of time what you're looking for in a business, but also what realistic obstacles you may come across, like arguments, like having no more money left, no more capital to run your business, to burnout, which I experienced as well with that, because I was balancing, like I said, YouTube sponsorships and trying to have a life, and other things that come up as well. So in a way, make a pro and con of what to expect before you actually start, you know, so you don't get hurt in the process. Because again, it will save you a lot of embarrassment, and embarrassed I was at the time when I would get thousands of comments about this freaking dino poop. Like, oh my god, I was like so upset. I was like, please let it go. I think it got to the point I literally blocked the word poop or dino poop from being commented ever, so I don't have to see it, so it doesn't affect my self-esteem. Because I was like, oh my gosh, like I thought like people would get the joke, because I call my poopsies, right? So dino poop, like, oh my god, legendary. But no, I guess it wasn't iconic enough. I could laugh about it now, but oh my god, the humiliation. Yeah. So it hit a wrong nerve with a lot of people. It really did, for reasons beyond me. I think people just a lot of times can't take a joke. But anyway, so yes, but nonetheless, the concept began from creativity and a genuine intention. So I'll leave it there. And I by no means anymore feel like I have to validate or explain myself. It just is what it is. That was what happened in the past. And people were even questioning, like, are these real crystals? Yes, they were real crystals. You can get them checked and authenticated and verified by a crystal dealer. I mean, come on. Like, would I really sell fake stuff? Like, really? Yeah. So, another controversy was, oh, you're using cheap leather wire cables for the cord of the necklace with expensive crystals. So you're clashing cheap with bougie. It just doesn't work. Okay, fair opinion, right? Again, it was a combination of both our ideas, but, you know, even bringing that up to the table made me very uncomfortable to say, hey, Jenny, look, this is what people are criticizing about our work. You know, how can we fix this? Even when a client would say, ooh, the cable broke, or, you know, the lobster clasp snapped out of the glue or something, like, it'd just be humiliating, you know? And, you know, we obviously wanted perfect ratings, which we pretty much got, because people that bought the jewelry were just awesome. Like, someone even ended up losing their jewelry in a storm, and, you know, no complaints there, you know? I mean, that couldn't have been our fault, but of course, like, you know, they're just, everyone was so kind and understanding. They showed me, like, pictures of them wearing the jewelry, and it was just so awesome. And I'm glad we weren't getting enough orders as expected, because I feel like if we kept getting many orders, like, some days we got, like, you know, quite like 3 orders was a lot, you know, because we had to do 3 orders in a day, you know. That's like, whoa, that's like you spend a whole day, right? It wasn't even possible. That's how much work we put into each piece. It was all handcrafted, but, like, and we didn't hire a team, you know, so it was hard. But I'm grateful it didn't get, like, you know, let's say a full-time income for both of us, because I probably would have been stuck doing something I didn't enjoy anymore. And so everything happens for a reason, but that's why UggaChunga had to close down. Hope that explains it. But nowadays I do something I'm way more passionate about, and I do on my own, which, like I said, are all the services, the bookings on my website. I've been doing them for over 6 years now, and I will keep doing them because I love it. So thank you guys. Thank you for checking out my website, and thank you for anyone who has ever supported UggaChunga in any way, either from a loving comment and a multitude of hateful comments, or, you know, bought a piece yourself. If you ever did, show it to me, because I would love to have some nostalgia and look back on those times. So, marketing was another tough thing. Word of mouth is very challenging, because it is the best way to promote a service, but also the slowest way, the most costly way, oftentimes. So, I don't know if you realize this, when you get 1 million views per video, you're not having that much engagement. You're getting not many people as you think would comment. You probably get only like 1,000 comments, so it's 1 every 1,000 people comment. People click on your links less, you know? So just because you're getting more views doesn't mean you necessarily earn more, you know? It definitely helps, don't get me wrong, but when it comes to promoting things, it's not necessarily the case, right? So that was a lesson learned as well, to build my own targeted small audience, which would help more, not only financially, but also help other people individually, rather than just anyone. I was getting an audience of between 12 and 90-year-olds. So I wasn't targeting anyone specifically. Most people are not into jewelry like that, probably half of people, or specifically jewelry that is tribal, or specifically jewelry with crystals, or specifically jewelry that's weird and unique. So there's that. But, and even big chunky, for another thing, was like, it's too big, it's too chunky, I need something lightweight. That wasn't our style, you know? That's not why we opened Yugji. We wanted something big, chunky, tribal, you know? So I think we ultimately ended up selling bath bombs, now that I recall. I was responsible for making the bath bombs, and so was she. I sucked. I tried making a few, I failed. So it ended up being on her back. And it just, again, was probably just feeling so awful that she had to end up doing everything. And my part was just clicking things on a screen, right? Hers was more physical. And, you know, just the number of times she would just have soreness in her wrists and hands. Like, I just felt awful to see her go through that. So I'm like, we have to shut it down. Like, this is not sustainable. And it just took a lot of time, you know, but I'm glad she enjoyed it at the time. I'm glad it's something, like I said, we got to do. So thank you guys for watching. I think we ended up doing anklets. Yeah, we did anklets and I believe bracelets as well. After, when we got deep into the business, maybe like a year in or so, something like that. But don't be afraid. You know, let this inspire you to start something you always wanted to start. You know, be you, be unique. Even if you get a lot of hate for it, you know, be yourself. You're gonna get people who just are ignorant or bullies or just not understanding your vision. You know, and yeah, I think Donatella Versace definitely inspired us as well with her creative endeavors and entrepreneurship. And Wendy Williams inspired me, some of her fashion looks. And she actually ended up wearing a piece of jewelry very similar to something. We were actually gonna, I think we sent her a piece, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure she ended up wearing it though on her show. But anyway, so yeah. Thank you guys a lot, and I will see you all very soon. Make sure to subscribe. Check me out on TonyBomboni.com, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Bye. Hope you enjoy the story time.